you you got introduced to film kind of through a parent, but you developed your own kind of a process and love for it. But when was then you went to college to be a computer
Computer
engineer?
engineer, yeah.
So when
Um,
did it came back? Like, well, I really want to look at this as a serious opportunity or possibility.
yeah. So the short version of the story is while I was in college, I started developing health issues, um, like really bad, and I had to give up soccer, I had to give up music, I had to give up weightlifting, because I just was in a lot of pain, and it was even hard for me to type on my keyboard because I was working a full time job in IT and going to school at night, and so I was really pushing myself, and it was really hard. I was getting burnt out, and I needed something to do because I was losing all my hobbies. And I had a passion for film. Independent film was just kind of starting to really get some steam and get some
Hmm.
attention. And I started finding out like there's people making movies. I was living in the DC area. It was like people are making movies in the DC area just like for fun. I was like, that's cool. I know like I could never go to Hollywood and be a professional, whatever. And but I could do it for fun. That sounds interesting. So I just went to an audition for a short film, and I booked this little speaking role in it. That's how I got
As an
started
actor,
as an actor.
so
Yeah,
you were looking at the opportunity, like people are making films, but you've always known, like, okay, if I'm gonna do something, it's gonna be acting.
yeah, and it was a personal thing. Like I had a I growing up, I never thought about being an actor. It was never an ambition of mine. I would imagine making movies. I even thought about becoming like an animator to like make animated
Hmm.
films. I wanted to make Lord of the Rings, and so I was like, I got to do CGI, you
You
know.
got to do CG.
So I thought about that, but when it came time to like get involved with movies, I wanted to do acting because um, I think there was a lot of things going on personally with just like my self development as a person, where I was like, I need to experience life, and I need to grow as a human being, because I just felt very like stunted, and acting was a way to like both an escape and also like a way to explore like what it is to be human.
Did you somehow, as a kid, did you like? I always ask this is like, did you make up stories or did you create fantasy characters or did you ever try to, or not at all?
I used to imagine movies. Like, I read a lot of books. I was reading novels. I was reading Lord of the Rings as a
Yeah,
little
I don't know
kid.
a lot of
So,
10-year-olds that read scripts, but your father was writing
yeah.
scripts, and because I guess I was going to ask you, so you must have been reading a lot of books. So then reading a script was not that hard for you. I
No.
mean, imagine giving a 10-year-old a script like just by himself, like, oh, this is cool. But I guess your imagination was driving like what the movie would look like. And
Yeah, I mean when I was like, 12, 13, I was reading like college level like literature. Um so yeah, I was big into reading and big into literature, and I would imagine things. I would play out the movie in my mind. That was like I would do that for fun, just kind of daydream like,
yep.
oh, this is where the story would go, and then he would say this.
And were you one of the characters? Like, would you imagine the story and then you'd be like, "Oh, I'm John. I'm definitely this guy who's gonna get the girl." And you imagine,
I don't know, like with the like designing movies, I would think about it in the first person, but certainly when I would read books like say Lord of the Rings, I would imagine like, well, what would it be like to be this character? If I'm Aragorn,
mm.
like what's that experience like?